CBS News Bay Area Afternoon Edition with Ann Mekovic.
Thanks for joining us this Tuesday. The U.S. Navy apparently considering renaming some of its ships, including one honoring San Francisco civil rights leader Harvey Milk. CBS News has reviewed documents from the Secretary of the Navy that shows the military is recommending renaming a series of ships. And one of them is USNS Harvey Milk. You might remember, here she is. The ship was christened and launched in 2021. It's an oiler that delivers fuel and supplies to Navy ships at sea. And she made a stop in San Francisco to much applause, because she's named after the former San Francisco supervisor, Harvey Milk. Also earlier had served in the Navy, and he did receive an other than honorable discharge after facing charges of homosexual behavior. After the Navy, Milk opened a camera store in San Francisco, and the rest was history. He was elected to the Board of Supervisors in 1977. And then in 78, he was assassinated at City Hall. It was in 2016 that Milk was selected, along other civil rights leaders, to have ships named after them. It was part of the John Lewis class of oilers. Other ships in that class were also listed for recommended renaming. They include ships named for labor rights activists Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta, along with ships named for Harriet Tubman and Ruth Bader Ginsburg. San Francisco Representative Nancy Pelosi has called the move shameful and vindictive. Memo obtained by CBS News says the renaming was to align with the Trump administration's policy of, quote, reestablishing the warrior culture.
Captain James White welcomes former Speaker Nancy Pelosi and all of us aboard the Harvey Milk Navy fuel ship for a private tour.
That's right. Welcome aboard. It's an honor to meet you. Honor to meet you.
The 746-foot vessel will carry 99 crew members when it's fully staffed. It's a traveling service station on the water that supplies fuel to other Navy service ships at sea.
So we're inside the Cargo Control Center. So you can see the panel here. All of the information that's going on inside is really directly related to what's happening outside.
This on-the-sea gas station can carry 162,000 barrels of diesel fuel. On our tour, Speaker Pelosi preferred to take the stairs rather than the elevator, so we all got our steps in today.
16 flights of stairs later, about 129 feet above sea level, here we are. This is called the bridge, and this is where the ship is actually controlled and steered.
Throughout the ship's interior are photos of Harvey Milk, including his time in the Navy. I also spoke with Harvey Milk's nephew, who reflected on today and his hope for the future.
What is that like for you personally as we're in the bridge of the ship, looking out, and the symbolism and where we've come so far?
It is astonishing in some ways to think that that we have come this far, but it's a reminder that it's a continual work in progress, because we have made so many steps forward, but for instance on women's rights we're moving backwards. And so Thomas Jefferson famously asked, when does the battle for equality and justice end? He said it doesn't. It requires constant vigilance, and I think that this ship is a reminder. It's going to go to ports where LGBTQ people are illegal, and this ship is going to teach about who Harvey was.
Well, the USNS Harvey Milk has officially docked here in San Francisco. This is the first time ever this ship is in the city. It, of course, is named after a San Francisco icon and is the very first ship named after an openly gay person. With the sun shining down, the USNS Harvey Milk crossed underneath the Golden Gate Bridge and into San Francisco Bay, marking the first time the ship is in the city its namesake cherished so much.
So significant. This was Harvey's chosen city, very important to him. So to have this ship come to San Francisco as a testament to his legacy.
The 746-foot Milk is the first ship named after an openly gay person, and it's the second ship in the John Lewis class of fleet, a fleet that is naming all of its ships after American civil rights heroes.
So to have the second ship of that class be named after Harvey Milk is incredible. to have that ship visit San Francisco on its very first port visit. Not only its first port visit to San Francisco, but its first port visit ever.
The Milk is a replenishment oiler able to deliver fuel, food, and other supplies to U.S. Navy and allied ships around the world. Navy media officer Brian O'Rourke says having a ship named after an LGBTQ trailblazer and icon is something everyone in this country should be proud of.
Amazing to somebody like me who joined the Navy in 1983 to see a ship named after, the first ship named after an openly gay person is incredible. The strides that we have made over those few decades is incredible.
And sadly, this ship is only going to be here for a short time. It will be participating in an event for Vietnam veterans on Friday, and then it will be shipping out right after that for a mission in the Middle East.
Well, it's an historic day in the Bay. The first U.S. Navy ship named for an openly gay person, Harvey Milk, just arrived in our waters. It traveled underneath the Golden Gate Bridge in the past hour. And just take a look at the scope of this ship. It is 746 feet. The ship is one of 20 oilers used to move fuel and cargo, the U.S. Navy, carrier strike groups, and to other surface forces. This one will be headed to the Middle East and to Gaza. Let's give you a live look right now, and it's still on the move, and now eventually will be docked at piers 30 and 32 along the Embarcadero. Can't see it right here, but it did just pass underneath the Bay Bridge. Let's go live, though, to our Kelsey Thorpe, who's getting a very unique view of that ship as it's coming in. And you got two views of two bridges and that ship right now traveling underneath the Bay Bridge. How's it going out there, Kelsey?
Hey, Ryan. Yeah, it's going good. We hitched a ride with SFPD. We're on one of their Marine unit boats, and we've been following this ship all the way into the city. We started out all the way out in the ocean, watched it come under the Golden Gate Bridge, which was a sight to see, and we've just been following it in. As you said, it just passed under the Bay Bridge. It's actually going to be docking over near here at Pier 30 and 32 soon, so we're very close to its final destination. But this ship, just being this close to this ship on this journey into the city here today, has been an amazing thing. As you said, this is a ship that goes around the world, and it helps fuel other ships. It also gives supplies to other ships and countries around the world. And this ship, of course, means so much to this city because of its namesake, Harvey Milk. As you said, this is the first ship that's been named after an openly gay person, and Harvey Milk was an icon to the city and to the world. And when it comes to naming ships, that's not a small honor. This is a huge honor for the legacy of Harvey Milk. And we talked to a local professor about naming this ship.
It goes to show that there is a permanence to that, and that all the work that folks who've done, whether they were out or not out at the time, that is not discounted, right? That it is recognized, it is appreciated, and that they are a big part of not just the military community, but just the United States as a whole. And so I think this is an exciting time for folks that want that commemoration to happen, and it's good to see that it's finally occurred.
And you can see the ship here still coming in. As I said, we're getting very close to where it's about to dock. You know, Ryan, it's too bad there's not a Giants game today, because I can see Oracle Park from where we're at, and I'm saying you would have a pretty good view of this ship if you're up in the nosebleeds up there. But it's just an amazing view. The weather has been perfect. The water has been perfect, and we're just watching the last little leg of this ship coming into dock.
And Kelsey, just for our viewers at home who didn't watch the stream, but what was that moment like as it was traveling underneath the Golden Gate?
You know, it was magical. It was just pure magic watching this massive ship come under the Golden Gate Bridge. You know, that's an iconic bridge. It's, you know, what San Francisco is known for. And to see a ship named after a person that really shaped this city, you know, that moment, it was amazing. I think Rick and I both just kind of watched and in awe as it went under. And like I said, the weather has been amazing. The sun is out, it's beautiful, and the ship looks great in the sun. And you can see the city behind the ship right now. Just the whole experience has been great. We've been on this boat now for a couple of hours, and we'll probably be on it for a couple more. We're gonna wait until this ship officially docks here, and then we'll make our way back in, and then we're eventually gonna come down back to where this pier is, where it's going to be docked, and interview some of the people involved with the ship. So we're excited. It's been a fun day for us out here for sure.
Yeah, I'm absolutely jealous. I mean, you and Rick, photographer Rick, have the best view right now of the USNS Harvey Milk coming into port. Thank you very much. We'll check back in with you a little bit later on in the show, but for those of you who want to see the USNS Harvey Milk, it'll be docked at piers 30 and 32 along the Embarcadero. In the meantime, still ahead, we look at how the U.S. Navy ship Harvey Milk is highlighting progress and inclusion after what for some were some painful memories during their service.
And then I was kicked out for being gay. We should be all treated with respect and dignity, and that's really what it's about.
And when we come back, how this military ship is now a symbol of change. Well, history in the San Francisco Bay today. The U.S. Navy ship Harvey Milk is in our waters, just making its way underneath the Bay Bridge, now trying to park itself parallel park at piers 30 and 32. So a best view of this ship will be just along the Embarcadero. And this ship is a nod to civil rights and gay rights pioneer Milk himself, served during the Korean War. And the naming of the ship after Harvey Milk is just one sign of a very different U.S. military. More than the one a lot of LGBTQ veterans did experience in their lifetime. And our Max Darrow spoke with one Army vet who reflected on his painful exit from service and some redemption years later.
Mementos from a major part of Michael Higgins' life are in this box.
Oh, heavy box.
Photos bring back memories of his time in high school.
Jesus, that's me.
At military academy.
I got straight A's.
And then memories of his time serving the country.
There's the Berlin Brigade Band.
The U.S. Army veteran was stationed in Berlin in 1988, and he was proud to be there.
It was me. I loved it.
But that chapter of his life came to an abrupt halt after a year and a half, when he received a general discharge under honorable conditions.
You see on the very bottom here,
punctuated by these words:
admission of homosexuality/bisexuality.
On his DD 214.
And then I was kicked out for being gay.
At that point in history, military policy explicitly banned gay people from serving.
I was actually read my Miranda rights in Berlin, Germany, for being gay. Think about that. I was getting death threats from the guys that were willing to save my life the day before they found out I was getting kicked out for being gay.
Higgins wasn't the first and certainly wasn't the last service member to have this experience. 3 years later, President Bill Clinton announced a Don't Ask, Don't Tell, hoping to find compromise in the fight over the military's ban on gays and lesbians.
It is not a perfect solution. It is not identical with some of my own goals, and it certainly will not please everyone, perhaps not anyone.
That it didn't.
Don't ask, don't tell, won't work.
It was met with protests and legal challenges from the get-go. James Zarza-Diaz is an associate professor of history at the University of San Francisco.
The whole point of Don't Ask, Don't Tell was, we're not going to ask you, but if you volunteer that information or if you're caught, then you're in trouble. And it kind of created this whole kind of culture of stigma and taboo and fear. And that's why it was very controversial then and now.
But it was the country's policy for 17 years.
Our people sacrifice a lot for their country.
Until 2010.
Including their lives.
When the Senate repealed it.
None of them should have to sacrifice their integrity as well.
And President Barack Obama inked it. This is done. Allowing gay, lesbian, and bisexual troops to serve openly.
When the repeal occurred, it was this big sigh of relief after, again, generations of trying to move the needle, especially in the military, an institution that is arguably much more conservative than others.
Then in 2021, President Biden overturned the Trump administration's ban on transgender people from serving in the military.
What I'm doing is enabling all qualified Americans to serve their country in uniform.
Now you have the commander-in-chief recognizing people who identify as transgender.
This is for real East German money.
A lot has changed since Higgins' duty came to a sudden and unceremonious end.
It's an exponential difference is what it is, and in a positive direction. This is a military that has gone from it's illegal to be gay, period, and now we're naming one of our naval ships, after Harvey Milk.
And the change of tides has allowed him to rewrite a part of his history.
There's a big void on it.
In 2022, Higgins received new discharge papers inked with the word honorable.
I was happy. It's the way it should be, because I did serve this country honorably. I didn't do anything wrong.
Big picture, he says more can still be done.
There's always room for improvement, right? Yeah. And again, that's going to be through education. We got to educate, and we should be all treated with respect and dignity, and that's really what it's about.
But he's grateful to see how much has changed since his days as a young man in uniform.
And still ahead, what makes Harvey Milk such an iconic figure right here in the Bay Area and U.S. history? We look at his mission toward equality and how he became such a champion for change. Well, welcome back. You're looking live at the U.S. Navy ship Harvey Milk that just made its way underneath the Golden Gate Bridge and the San Francisco Bay Bridge, now in the San Francisco Bay, getting ready to park. I know Kelsey Thorne is live, and Kelsey, you have the best view in the house right now, following this journey from out on the water. Where are you headed now?
Hey, Ryan, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, today's been a fun one for sure. We are watching, like you said, we're watching the Harvey Milk being parked right now. It is almost there. I would say it's within a couple of feet now from Pier 30 and 32. You know, if you remember back in Fleet Week, this is where the USS John P. Murtha was parked as well. So it's kind of right in between the Bay Bridge and Oracle Park. People, if you're walking down the Embarcadero, you can't miss it. It's a giant ship and it's just about to dock. But, you know, we've been following this ship all the way in through under the Golden Gate Bridge, under the Bay Bridge to its parking place here at the pier. But, you know, the main reason that we're focused on this ship, of course, is the fact that it's named after Harvey Milk. You know, this is a man that is an icon to this city. He has become a world icon when it comes to his fight for LGBTQ rights as well as civil rights. And he has had such an impact on San Francisco and the rest of the world when it comes to those two issues. And to have a ship, a naval ship named after him, he was actually in the military as a younger man, but this is just a huge occasion for him. And this ship was actually christened 2 years ago, back in 2021. And when that happened, there were people from across the city, icons of the city, both political and community, talking about what this meant, including Nancy Pelosi. Here's some of what she said at the time.
Harvey was a visionary. He saw this all early, and he knew it had to be a movement, and he was an effective not only organizer, but inspiration.
And of course, we all know that Harvey Milk's life was cut short back when he was assassinated here in the city. And we all remember that iconic moment when the late Dianne Feinstein came out and made that announcement.
Both Mayor Moscone and Supervisor Harvey Milk have been shot and killed. The suspect is Supervisor Dan White.
And you know, Ryan, just to go from that moment, that was such a dark time in our city's history to now this moment of having this massive naval ship named after such an icon to this city is just remarkable. You know, it seems like so long ago that that happened. And then now, decades later, you know, you heard Dianne Feinstein there, another icon of the city, now gone, and Nancy Pelosi, of course, an icon of the city. So all of these people coming together, making such an impact on our city, and Harvey Milk, of course, is a huge part of that. So to have this ship now parked here in our city is just amazing, and we've gotten a front row seat to it all day, Brian.
Yeah, absolutely. Such a contrast in history, but such a momentous moment happening right now in the San Francisco Bay. Thanks, Kelsey. We'll be right back.